Hi, folks. This is Zach Centron from Special Olympics Maryland, and we are here to talk to you guys about indoor bocce for the 24-25 school year. We'll keep things pretty streamlined for district reps and sharing to coaches because a lot of things are pretty much the same going into this indoor bocce season. We'll share a few little notes to get you along the season, one thing that's in the works, and an update for states. But other than that, a lot of it's business as usual. You'll mostly want the deadlines and that type of stuff. First reminder that we want to share is that we are in the heart of fundraising season for Cool Schools Plunge. We are doing 2 days of plunge this year. We are going Wednesday for all non-Anne Arundel County schools, and then we're going Thursday for Anne Arundel County schools. Thanks to you guys and the awesome job that you've done bringing your students out for that inclusive plunge experience. We have to go 2 days because there's so many schools that come out, and hopefully it keeps growing, which is awesome. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Allison. Her email is below. Or if you have questions, you can always reach out to myself or Melissa Kelly, who's in charge of Unified Champion Schools. One of us can also get you answers that you're looking for plunge, as long as they're not too detailed. Again, if you haven't had coaches coaching unified sports, it's the baseline Special Olympics North America unified sports training. Veteran coaches, you'll get some good new tips out of it, but for the most part, if you have any students that are being team managers, I would highly recommend it for them. If you have any new coaches, it's a really, really good training for new people for sure. Just a reminder on captains, we want you to denote who your captains are. I think folks did a really good job for the fall season. We want to keep doing that for the winter season as well. Again, these are the points of why we should have captains. Please, on your rosters, which we'll talk about later and I'll mention again, mark a little star next to whoever your captains are going to be. If not, we will send out the link for submitting captains as well, or we'll grab them at your assessment/district tournaments or whatever may happen. Here's that survey link for captains. Essentially, you fill out who your captains are, and I believe everybody that filled out captains, their student captains did get a certificate for the fall season. Again, sportsmanship, we don't really need to go into this. I think folks do a really good job at this. I think sometimes if we have instances of reminders of sportsmanship, it tends to be at the state tournament when things are on the line. So just remember, set a strong example for your student athletes. The attitude that your coaches carry on the court for play is the attitude that the students are going to follow as well. Just a reminder of who our crew is. Katie Turner, still the bocce chair. Tyler, still our manager for high school unified sports. He's handling a lot of the district level stuff, working on paperwork with you guys. And then I'm handling, the typical state level, planning and tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk admin. This is probably the section district reps care about the most. This is your page. This is the page you care about. The main dates that you guys really care about going into the winter season is Friday, December 13th. We want those team rosters. If you could start getting in student paperwork because you have it, that's great. Again, winter season and spring season continue to get easier because if you had students who participated in the fall season, you don't need to turn in paperwork again for them. Just put them on your roster. And again, when you do your roster, if you can put a little star next to whoever your captains are, that's a huge help for us. The second important date is January 7th. That's when we start wanting your postseason competition rosters and rating forms so we can help you get your district tournaments together. If you need Katie to do brackets for your tournament, we need those ASAP. And then the other important thing is any of your coaches or volunteers or team managers, their coaches forms. Again, if they did them in the fall or they're good in that 3-year window, they don't need to do them again. But if you have a new coach or somebody that needs to re-up, please have them turn stuff in by January 7th. What we really, really need by January 7th as well, that I'll remind folks of, especially LSS managers, is that everyone's in GMS ASAP around that January 7th time. The more we struggle to get folks into GMS and registered, the longer it takes for us to do our census for Special Olympics International. And that's where a lot of our funding and stuff comes from. So we need LSS managers to be on top of their game in the winter season. Last two dates, there's the pre-competition webinar, not preseason. And then February 11th is the date for states at Hagerstown Community College. And again, the 12th will be our bad weather date. Hopefully we don't need it this year. Let's talk paperwork. Same thing for the most part. We've tried to shorten this process and condense it a little bit for you. But pretty much business as usual, quite honestly. Student athlete form, one pager. Communicable disease waiver, one pager. Student athletes have to do these 2 pages. That's the main thing that they need to do. This is the roster, the affirmation of eligibility, the team roster declaration. We've called it 50 different things over the years. It's your team roster. It's all we care about. The main stuff, again, that we care about on here is the first page is just who's filling it out, what school and stuff. The important thing at the top of the second page is make sure you're filling in any coaches, paraprofessionals, anybody that's working with your team that you aspire to have credentialed at the state tournament needs to go in that top section there. And then the next part's the standard stuff. Student, their date of birth, what their role is, and if you could, we need to add a section on the form, we've realized. If you could add their gender, because that's the other thing that your LSS managers need to put them in GMS if they're not already in GMS. Again, most of the time based on names, we can guess, but we don't love to do that because we're not always sure how an individual wants to be recognized in that category. Again, talks about state tournament credentialing. That's what we need. Non-student athletes, adults, and minors, just a reminder for the Class A clearance, the coaches stuff, they're good for 3 years. And essentially the process is on the next couple slides. We've reduced it down. Part 1, we need you to do the volunteer application because it runs a background check. We know there's a background check that gets run in schools, but we also need our own independent risk management stuff. You know the deal. And then the CDW form. So you can do both of them on the SOMD website, and then you can send them to Tyler. So click on the website. It'll give you all the links to the forms, fill them out, send them back to Tyler. Part 2 is the protective behaviors training. We're doing it on the SO Learn portal. So coaches, when they have to do their protective behavior, will have to go in and create an account. It's totally worth it though, because the SO Learn portal is getting a bunch of free trainings uploaded to it all the time. So they can dig around in there and find some good free trainings from Special Olympics. And you guys might even want to dig around in there as district reps because it might find something that you say, you know what, I want my coaches to watch this. Again, if you have questions on paperwork, reach out to me or Tyler. We'll get things cleared up. We'll continue to try to communicate the best we can on who needs what in a timely manner so you're not paperwork chasing either. Again, we have our resource page. You can click on that and it'll take you there. Available now is the 23-24 Coaches Rules and Guide. By the end of this webinar, and by the time you get the link for this webinar, the 24-25 will be up and posted and attached to the email you receive. And then again, some general resources. You can go to SOI. There's a lot of good resources and free stuff in there for coaches, for running programs, so on and so forth. COMAR regulations, you guys know the song and dance here. We do not enforce COMAR. We keep an eye out for COMAR violation-y type of stuff. In 4 years of doing this, I think I've seen one actual thing that we've had to bring up, and quite honestly, the district's resolved and reported to MPSSAA, I believe, themselves. So quite honestly, a non-issue for unified sports as far as we're concerned. Bocce, there isn't really a COMAR issue if you have a district that allows a student to play multiple sports via a waiver. They could technically play basketball and bocce. It's not a conflict. Strength and conditioning in the winter, same thing. I guess if there's an indoor track program that does strength and conditioning too, there could be a question. Biggest ones that we run into is track and field in the spring with track and field double down and or indoor track and then running unified track in the spring, and then tennis. So again, if you have COMAR questions, one, quite honestly, ask your athletic supervisor or an athletic director. Two, then you can come to me. We can try to figure it out. If not, we can reach out to MPSSAA. District map, again, Baltimore's our newest district, so they will be with us again. I think this is year 3 or 4. They're doing an awesome job along with everybody in the West for Bocce. And again, everything continues to grow. We're excited. You guys are doing a great job growing programs. All right, let's talk rules, updates, and reminders. A lot of this stuff will be the same as what you saw last year. I think there's 2 little tidbits in here, though. Ramp specs. Again, there are no official by Special Olympics North America or international standards. Um, but as of this year, not the 23-24 season, I will update that. 24-25, we do not have mandated specs. I don't believe we're going to ever have mandated specs at this point after doing the research on this. With that said, if you are looking for some sort of specs or you're interested in purchasing a bocce ramp that we highly recommend, please use this link that goes to Accessible. They make a bocce ramp and bowling ramps out in California, and they do a really nice job. They're really good products. They break down in 3 pieces, maybe 2 pieces, so you can get them in any vehicle, on a bus, nice and easy. But again, no specifications for ramps. We do have rules on how to use ramps, but not how they're built or shaped. For the most part, the ramp rules is that they can be used at either the regular 10-foot foul line or at states. And we recommend if you have anybody using ramps at districts, they can use the extended 20-foot ramp line. Again, the front part of the ramp where the ball exits the ramp onto the court cannot be over one of those 2 lines, but they can roll it from there. So here's a picture of what we're talking about. The solid line 10 feet from the back of the court where the cones are is your standard foul line. You can use the ramp there. You can use the ramp all the way up to the dotted 20-foot line, which we will have at states. And again, we highly recommend at districts if you have somebody using a ramp. And quite honestly, anywhere behind that 20-foot dotted line, you can put the edge of the ramp. It doesn't matter to us. You just can't cross that 20-foot dotted line. Reminder, whoever delivers the Polina for a team does not have to be the first person to deliver the bocce ball. I know at one point there was a rule that floated for years that said they had to be. It's not a rule. It's something that just got made up. If your team operates that way and that's what works best for them, don't change it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are a team that wants to have some variety in who delivers after that Polina goes out, that is up to you guys. And there's no competitive imbalance to doing it one way or the other. So again, first person that delivers the Polina does not have to deliver the bocce ball. Just some reminders for updates for coaching. We want to make sure that people are not coaching during a match. Once a player enters the court to deliver a Polina or a bocce ball. If a coach needs to talk to a player before they step in, player can step back to the coach's box and talk to them. If unified partners and athletes want to talk before someone steps in, they can talk behind the court within a reasonable amount of time. If somebody steps into the court, talking's over. We want to allow them the concentration and opportunity to do what they've been trained to do, so that they can step in, deliver their bocce ball or Polina, and have success. Again, coaches, we at states will draw the coaches box like we did last time. During the coaches meeting, we will go over where to be, what's good for coaches box, what's not good for coaches box. Biggest thing is we want to remind you that violating coaching rules based on an official reminding a coach will have penalties to it. So first warning, they'll remove one of the balls remaining from your team's balls. If for some reason you've delivered your last ball and there's a coaching violation, they'll take one from the next frame. If it happens again, the coach will be removed from the coach's box for that match. And if it happens a third time, coach will go into the stands. That's how it goes. Here's a picture of the coach's box. Again, nothing's changed about this. We will have a very similar setup to this at states. Again, we will walk through it at states, so don't be worried about it. And again, one thing about the coach's box, I forget to put this reminder in sometimes. If there's a coach that has an athlete that needs additional assistance, we're all here for unified sports. We're all here for providing a strong, unified experience for all of our student athletes. Coaches just talk to each other and say, hey, I have an athlete that if I don't walk this athlete in, if I don't stand on the edge of the coach's box next to them and tell them to deliver the ball, we'll be standing here for 45 minutes. We have athletes that sometimes need that help, and that's fine. We just need coaches to communicate with us and the district reps and other coaches. I think everybody did a really, really good job of that last year, and did a good job supporting our unified sports participants that need that additional help. Uh, Reminder on roster, minimum 4, maximum 8 players. Um, each part of your lineup, ideally, right? People that are playing in a given frame has 2 athletes, 2 partners. It can be 3 athletes and 1 partner should it need to be. Um, Biggest thing I think that we saw last year with rosters is we started doing the 3 athlete minimum on a roster, which will carry over again this year, which is important. 3 athletes minimum on a roster prevents teams from hurting themselves and spreading themselves too thin. You do 2 athletes on a roster and 6 partners. That's awesome. We're glad you have that many partners. But the concern we start to have is one of those athletes gets sick for district or states, and your roster is automatically ineligible. So, again, 3 athlete minimum on a roster, and you can finesse your roster from there. Reminder on rotations and frame substitutions. Once you are a team of 5 to 8 players, you have to make any of your substitutions or rotations before the Polina is thrown for that frame. So you have to pick whoever your 4 that are participating in that frame before the Polina is thrown. Once the Polina is thrown, whoever was picked for those 4 are the ones that are going. You're not changing based off of where the Polina came to rest. Again, reminder too that if you have 5, 6, or 7 on your team, you're going to have some sort of odd rotation, which you can find in the coach's guide, a recommendation of rotations. And then for 8 players, typically most teams do 4 on one side, 4 on the other side, and don't rotate. But I don't believe there's anything that says you can't rotate them if you have 8. So we're open to that. We're fine with that, and recognize that some teams are going to want to do it differently. We just ask, again, whatever your rotation is, that you do the rotation with equitable play in mind. We want to get all of your athletes and unified partners participating, not just the ones that are going to win you the match, right? Last note is, again, alternates. The last 2 on your roster, that 9th and 10th spot, they're considered alternates. So you can sub them in between full matches. You can sub them in during matches. But we're going to clean up. I'm going to clean up what it says on here because it could be confusing. After a Polina is delivered, you can't sub them in. So I know in the rule book it recommends subbing them in at the 15-minute mark of a 30-minute match. That's just for equitable play. But realistically, you can activate that 9th or 10th person on your roster, but they have to switch with the role of the same type. So an athlete has to switch with an athlete, a partner has to switch with a partner. And once that person comes off and is subbed for a 9th or 10th player on your team, they can't go back in. They're done until the next match. Here's the last thing, second to last thing, I lied. 2 little tidbits going into this year. Last year, we were starting to look at and having officials be a little bit more intentional about monitoring a delay of game play clock. We said 45 seconds to a minute. We realized going through indoor bocce and outdoor bocce that we need to implement that more full time. And communicate to you guys what that full-time ruling is. We have a rule set put together. It does need to be approved or denied by Special Olympics Maryland Sports Committee that will meet in November. So by beginning of December, we will have an official worded ruling that will be updated in the rule book and delivered to you guys about delay of game. we're not sure if it's going to be 45 seconds or a minute, whatever it's going to be. Main thing that I would recommend is if you have teams that start November 15th on the dot for MPSSAA, November 13th on the dot, whatever the start date is this November, start working on a 45-second play clock. Again, get them used to, having whatever quick conversations they need to have, determining who's going to be picking up the bocce ball or the polina, picking it up, stepping into the court, and making a delivery. Second note is that we will be at states not requiring you guys to bring your indoor bocce balls yourself. You can bring an extra set if you'd like to warm up or whatever, but we are eliminating the whole process of bringing your bocce balls, weighing them in. It's 45 minutes wasted, quite honestly, and we've just realized that we will bring preset bocce balls that are all the right size to the right weight. Just ordered brand new sets from Bubba Bocce myself for the state tournament. So again, no need to do that anymore either. So we will send out reminders as the season goes along. One, when the lay of game rules are ready and are in the rule book for you. And two, on we will bring bocce balls to states. Getting into some last minute details here. Reminder on teams. We appreciate that you may have fun team names. It makes it easier when you have multiple teams at a school that they are high school 1, high school 2, high school 3. It's just easier for us to make sure we get the right rosters together for your district tournament if we're helping prep that, and especially for states. Last thing, uniform stuff, same song and dance here. You need that Special Olympics Unified Sports logo either on the chest, the sleeve, or the neck. And they got to be on all the uniforms. I don't think we've had many issues there in a while. If you need uniforms or equipments, two-step process. 1, contact your athletic director or supervisor of athletics. If you really, really, really need new uniforms and they don't have the budget, reach out to us. Sometimes we can help. We don't have an unlimited budget either, but we will do everything we can to help you guys out. That's it. That's the main song and dance. Again, we didn't cover everything, right? We're being realistic here. We're trying to respect your time, keep this short. The typical things are still the typical things. Remind your student athletes about uniforms, right? Yes, it's bocce season, and it's not necessarily track and field or flag football or tennis or whatever. But you know what? We really don't want people wearing Crocs or slip-ons or Hey Dudes or whatever on the court for play. Make sure you're wearing athletic sneakers still. If you have an athlete that's struggling with something throughout the season and you need help with something, reach out to us. Hey, we have an athlete that's struggling to learn this skill. We have resources on that stuff. We'll come out to a practice. We'll work with you guys. And again, biggest thing that I always talk about is just communication. If you guys have questions, if we have questions, if there's things we need to work out and fix, bring them up. Let's fix them ahead of time instead of waiting until, the 12th hour and struggling together to make it happen, right? So, appreciate you guys, appreciate everything you've done already in the fall. Looking forward to a great winter. And if there's anything else we can do for you guys, let us know. Thanks.